Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, Calvin Anderson, for the Check In With podcast. We are on season 3. I have an incredible guest with me today. She is the director of Rutland House Counselling and Psychotherapy based in central Leicester. My guest is a UKCP registered psychotherapist, a DBT practitioner, and an EMDR practitioner and supervisor. My guest is also the chair of the Society for DBT Private Practice Special Interest Group, emotional health problems, including emotional regulation difficulties and complex trauma. Ladies and gentlemen, please give, a standing ovation wouldn't even be good enough, but give a warm welcome to Jenny Collard. Jenny, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. But you're making me blush with such an introduction.
Oh, don't worry.
Thank you very much.
I'm actually gonna re-record it to make it sound even better because it's that good.
Bless you. Honestly, you're making me blush. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here then.
Jenny, I guess before we get into the questions, what inspired you to get into the field? Like, what was it that you said to yourself, yeah, this is what I want to be long term. These are the things I'm going to study and be great at and have in my toolbox. And this is who I'm going to become.
Well, I think for me, it's been quite a journey. I'm really fortunate that I kind of knew I wanted to be a therapist really young. So I can actually remember the day now when I was sort of sat in a library. I was 16 and I saw this word art therapist in a careers book. And I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
And I read about it. And just from that moment, I was like, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to be. As many of us do, we go on later to do our own therapy and our own journey. And I now realize that my journey started way before 16. Of course, my own childhood experiences, my own life. I think I was well positioned to be a therapist just from my natural temperament plus some of my own life experiences. But I found the word art therapist at 16 and I went straight to college to study art and psychology.
Yeah.
Failed my psychology A level, would you believe that I absolutely flunked that. But I was 16, I was not got my head down for studying. And went off on a different course for a little bit, and then came back to art therapy. I went to do a degree in creative expressive therapies, and that was my introduction to the field 22 years ago now, which it still feels like yesterday, so that's really weird. Um, and then to be an art therapist, though, you have to have a master's degree in art therapy. So I did my degree, and then I was like, all geared up to do my master's, and then reality hit. Like, uni's expensive, right? And then straight to carry on into a master's, it just wasn't feasible. I needed to go out and work. So kind of like was really stumped. Like, this is what I was going to do. So I went and did some work experience out in Cambodia. It was a beautiful opportunity. And then I came back and I was working in a therapeutic arts practitioner in forensic mental health. And then I found a UKCP registered course that allowed me to study Friday, Saturday, Sunday once a month. So I was actually able to work full time and then go on to do this 4 years training to become a psychotherapist. And I thought, well, I can still use my art as a psychotherapist. And then I went broader rather than the more narrow art therapy route. And it actually turned out to be really the right thing for me. And I'm glad I did that. And then from there, just kept developing, just added new models on. And now, I think I really sort of sit very aligned with DBT as my core model in therapy, but I'm a relational developmental DBT therapist that throws a bit of EMDR in as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been just a gradual journey. I thought I was going to be an art therapist and I was fully into that. And then that developed into psychotherapy. And that's where I was. I didn't have plans to go further. And then I found DBT and then I found EMDR and, God knows where it goes next. It's just a lifetime profession. It's just amazing, isn't it?
It is. It really is. Thank you for sharing that with us, Jenny. I love how the transition that you made and you said, yeah, this is what I want to do. Oh, I'm liking this. Let me go and study this. And then you said, like, who knows what's next, but you're still going to keep learning because it's a lifelong profession.
Yeah, I don't know where I'm going. See when I get there.
Jenny, can you share a moment when therapy changed everything for you or for your client?
Ooh. Um, okay. It's done both. Therapy changed my life massively. And it kind of makes me emotional because I think that's not only the reason I love it. I'd already wanted to be a therapist before I had therapy. I started my therapy as part of my training, but my original therapist that I had way back then, like she literally changed my life. I was such an insecure, nervous trainee therapist, and I can remember starting therapy genuinely with the belief that she must have thought, or my projections onto her. I always thought that she must have thought, God, how is this girl going to be a therapist? She's got way too many issues to be a therapist. I really thought that my therapist believed that in me. And obviously over time I was able to work through those projections and sort of develop myself. Of course I became a really good therapist and I'm really proud of who I am, but I'm like, wow, that's where I was. And now this journey that it took me on. And I also believed there was no chance that I was going to have this successful relationship. And now here I am, together with my husband 15 years. So I've got a great career. I've got a great relationship and life. And I put a lot of it down to the therapy that I had at that age and have built on through my learning and other therapy experiences too.
Wow.
And so that's like changed my life.
Yep.
And then, like, I don't know, I've got this folder, I think many therapists do, of the thank you cards that we get over the years.
Mm.
And you know, every now and again I get it out. It's usually around Christmas actually. It's that time of year where we reflect, isn't it? And it just makes me so emotional, the things that people put in those cards to us, like when people say you literally changed my life or you've saved my life even, like
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I've got a million examples of times that therapy is profound, it's life changing, yeah, I
Mm.
just love it.
Jenny, I can't even say anything more but agree with you 100%. To to like you said, the cards, the thank yous, the gifts, people saying, hey, like you actually changed my life. That's such a I guess for us, because we do this work, it doesn't hit us until, we take off our therapist hat and we lay it down for the day, or, we're at home with, like you said, you're at home with your husband, or you're just chilling, and then you kind of read back these things and you're like just blown away with the work.
Yeah, it's literally life changing what we do, and I just think that's so powerful, so magical, and I feel truly honoured to be in this profession. It's such meaningful work.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. Honestly,
Mm.
yeah, it's just an honor. Like you said, it's such an honor,
Yeah,
such an
yeah,
honor.
yeah. It's hard to put words to it, isn't it?
Definitely,
It's a felt experience.
definitely felt. Jenny, I want to ask you, why do you focus on DBT when working with BPD, ADHD, or trauma? What makes it so transformative?
Mm. So my journey into DBT, as I said, before I was practicing DBT, I was working as a relational developmental psychotherapist. Still a very big part of who I am as a therapist. But I was finding that I was working with a lot of clients with BPD, working really well, we are doing some really beautiful work, but that I'd get stuck ultimately. I'd have clients that want to be in therapy for years, but I would find that they would come to therapy,
Yeah.
they'd feel better through the course of the session. I would have sort of buoyed them up, they would feel better, we may made some insights, what have you, but then they would go and then they'd come back next week and we were back to position one again. And we'd kind of just go on and do this again and again and again. And although I know in my heart we were doing some really beautiful and meaningful work,
Yeah.
I really did feel like I wanted to be able to support people to make some more change than they were able to do.
Hmm.
So that's when I came across DBT. And I'm going to be honest, at first I really hated it, which is so weird because now I'm like the biggest fan.
Yeah.
But I guess it's change, isn't it? And especially I think so many of us, we invest so much in our models, don't we? Because not only does it take years to train and loads of money, but you have to believe in it, right? So I was so invested in the model that I already had that then I met DBT, which on the surface seems so wildly different
Yeah.
that it was like inevitable that I was going to reject it in a way.
Mm.
I was going from like deep relational interactions to worksheets. I was like, what is this? So initially I kind of felt quite rejecting of it. But as you do, I kept thinking to myself, come on, there's got to be something in this. There's loads of research to support it. Come on, Jenny, try. And so I started to just sort of bring in these sort of skill sheets to sessions now and again. And then it was like the feedback from clients, like they were blown away from it, but were blown away by it. And I was like, really? Like, are you sure? Because to me, like some of the worksheets seemed patronizing, right? Like they're just like this skill written on a worksheet, and often it's an acronym or something. And I'm like, these people are coming with severe emotional difficulties, and you want me to give them a worksheet with an acronym on it? Like, I felt like that was patronizing at that point in my career.
Yeah.
But my clients would take it, and then they would come back the next week and be like, this has really changed things for me. So I had to listen to that. I had to listen to that feedback, and I really realized like some people literally don't have the skills that people who can emotionally regulate have. Like they literally don't know to stop and take a step back and think about what they're reacting to, and to actually explicitly teach people. We call it in DBT skill deficit. Some people have a deficit of the skills that go into managing our emotions. So we explicitly teach them that. And then that's all woven into a really deep philosophical framework around DBT as well. So it's not just worksheets and skills, that's part of the therapy, but there is a broader relational component, and there's so much beauty in it. There's so much validation, like validating clients exactly as they are and asking them to change. And that's really, really beautiful, and I see works really well with clients, because if you push them to change too much, they often feel invalidated.
Yeah.
And if you validate them too much, well, there's no motivation to change, which is, I think, where I was before in psychotherapy. I perhaps over-validated, and therefore there wasn't enough change happening.
Talk to me on that, Jenny, because the last part you said there wasn't much change happening.
Mm.
What was the reason for that? And then I guess for you, because there wasn't much change happening, you decided to obviously make that step to actually make change happen.
Yeah, make some more change. Well, so DBT, Dialectical Behaviour Therapy. Dialectical is the belief in there's truth in opposing opposites.
Yeah.
And there's loads of dialectics that we're spotting in DBT all of the time and trying to work with. But the most central one is that of acceptance and change. So if we think about it, if we're asking ourselves to accept ourselves as we are, that's the opposite of asking ourselves to change, right? Like, why are we changing if we're accepting of ourselves? And yet in DBT, we try to like braid them together in a way, like acceptance and change, because what they found, like the founder of DBT, Marsha Linehan, what she found when she was researching is that clients with heightened emotional sensitivity, if they're in very validating based therapies without much emphasis on change, then quite literally, as I was experiencing before, they'll often stay in therapy for a very long time, really, really enjoy the therapy, develop a very strong attachment to the therapist, but not actually feel any different. But in change-based therapies, often, again, they would feel like, well, I can't help the way that I feel. So you're asking me to change and I can't change. You don't understand me, and they feel invalidated and then drop out of the therapy. So by bringing those together, I accept you as you are, and I understand the way you are in the context of the life that you've lived. And it makes perfect sense that you feel like this or that you did behave like that. And yet, could we look at doing this a little bit differently? So that kind of weaving together of, rather than like, you just need to do that differently, which the client takes offense to, or that kind of nurturing there, where actually I'm right and I'll just stay as I am, when really sometimes we can see that a client needs some change.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, like as a therapist, before I had the skills and the model that goes around the skills, when we get caught, particularly in the transferential dynamics and the countertransference with clients that will get prickly if you tell them like, what's your part in this maybe, like sometimes it's hard to go to the prickly stuff, so we avoid it, but then we collude with the staying as we are. Yeah. So yeah, I think the model of validate plus a change component really helped me to kind of help people to still have that beautiful, a healing, validating, nurturing relationship, whilst also enacting and moving forward with change and not losing that component.
I love that, Jenny. That aspect of the validations, you know, saying, yeah, of course. But then getting to that point, it was like, yes, but now let's take it a step further.
Step further. Yeah. Yeah. So we'd always say in DBT, yes, and.
Mm,
Yes,
yeah.
and yet.
And yet,
They're probably the words I say the most. And yet.
yeah, because even when you say that, Jenny, it's just the visual of, you know, there's like another door to go through. You know, we're at level, just say we're at level one, it's like, hey, yeah, all good, but there's more. There's more to venture off into. There's more to see,
Yeah.
which I think is so powerful. So thank you for sharing that. Uh, I wanted to ask you next, how do you support family and friends of someone with emotional hypersensitivity?
Mm. Okay, so we do that in our DBT service, which is called the DBT Lounge, by the way.
Yeah.
We offer something called friends and family coaching for, you know, the loved ones of somebody who has, you know, it could be BPD, it might be ADHD because it comes with a lot of impulsivity and emotional dysregulation. There could be complex trauma, and often people come to us and say, you know, like, I'm struggling to know how to respond to this individual, and I'm struggling to support them in the way that they can, but and often, like, this comes from love and want to help, and exasperation
Mm.
and burnout and compassion fatigue, you know? So again, there's gonna be loads of validating of them, because it is hard to live with somebody who's in emotional turmoil all the time, and we know as therapists, we feel often pulled all over the place, you know, kind of trying to get it right and, you know, all sorts. So it's very hard for them. So you know, there's a lot of kind of care for them in that, and validation of how difficult it is for them. And yet, let's look at how you're managing it right now, and let's think, are there some different ways? And ultimately, we teach them a lot of the skills that we teach our clients in DBT, because they're not skills of people who struggle, they're life skills. Like, I have benefited so much from DBT skills in my life, like all of us do when we learn from our therapeutic models. You know, we integrate it into our own lived experiences, and you know, we develop. So I've developed so much from DBT skills because they're human skills, they're life skills.
Yeah.
So we teach them to the friends and family, and also help them understand how using those skills with their loved one can help in their interactions. And we really teach them just what I was saying a minute ago about the power of validation. And I want to emphasize the skill of it. I
Mm.
think something that I go on about a lot is, like, it's so easy, particularly for us as therapists, because we're often very validating.
Mhm.
But it's so easy to validate when you agree with somebody.
Yes.
But the skill in validation is validating somebody who is angry. Validate, especially if they're angry and you're thinking, oh my Lord, this is disproportionate reaction. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, or if they're angry with you, or if they're like withdrawn and hopeless and, you know, in that kind of real defeated flop mode, you know, like validating somebody when they're in that really difficult to reach place, that's a skill. So, like, it's so easy to hear the word validation and we're all like, yeah, 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 I'm validating, I'm validating. But even though I think about validation all day long, like, I still find it hard when somebody is in that place to have to really work and think to drag out, like, what is the kernel of truth in what this person's saying
Yeah.
that I can validate in order to kind of meet them where they're at, and then hopefully shift and move them a little bit.
Mm. How do you support family and friends of someone with emotion?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I remember that.
No, thank you for that. I think, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I love how you unpacked it as well, and that the process and the journey of that and what that looks like. Even when you said about validating anger, because it's very easy to, you know, leave someone to be angry and not say anything
Mm.
and just let it just,
And
sorry, go ahead.
well, like, one of my favorite quotes from Marsha Linehan, as I say, the founder of DBT, is like, therapists are jerks, right? And I love this because what she means by it, I'm giggling because it makes me laugh. But what she means by it is, most of the time we are guilty of the things that our clients get upset with us about or annoyed with us about. You know, maybe we forgot the name of somebody, or, you know, we said we'd do something and we didn't do it, or But often, like, if there is emotional dysregulation, the reaction might be disproportionate. So again, therapists with experience of working with people who have a diagnosis of BPD will know that the experience of being a therapist is that you kind of, one minute you're like the best therapist in the world, and then you can be the person who's completely missed them and misunderstood and you've upset the client. But actually, there will be a kernel of truth in what the client's upset about, and why can't we just validate that?
Mm.
And that doesn't mean that we're wholly accepting of their whole emotional experience.
Yeah.
But it's to, like, you're right, actually, I did forget that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm still the same therapist that, got all those other things right too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like trying to help clients bring those, that reduce that splitting, that black and white imagery that they often have of the world, and sort of bring it back to that middle place. But what often happens is because their emotional reaction may be really heightened compared to what's actually happened, is in their life, they often get invalidated. Like, you need to chill out, it's no big deal, you're making a mountain out of a molehill, which is incredibly invalidating and actually makes them feel more emotional, not less. You can do an experiment with it if you want to do it with me, right? Like, if we, and like anyone listening can do it too, like if you just think about a time where you felt a little bit angry, like
Yeah.
just get in contact with like a memory of something, but not too high, like a 5 out of 10 or something like that.
Okay.
Right? You got one?
Yeah, I got one.
And now if I said to you, I want you to hold that in mind, and if I say to you like, oh, like, chill out, it's no big deal, I don't know why you make such a big deal of it. How do you feel? What happens?
It starts to elate. As you see, I start to grow.
So my telling you to put your emotion down makes your emotion go up. Yeah, so it doesn't work. Whereas if you come back to it, get back into it in your head, bring that thing up and let me know when you've got it.
I got it.
Yeah, okay. And if I say to you, no, I totally get it, I can see why you'd be angry. I think anyone would be angry in your position. Now, how do you feel?
More relaxed.
Yeah. So it doesn't necessarily always make it come down. It's like the emotion goes, oh, you're listening. So I'm just going to watch you for a minute, and it definitely doesn't go up. It's just pauses and it's willing to reduce.
Yeah.
And that's just a simple example of the power of validation. But people with emotional dysregulation, because they experience their emotions disproportionately to what's happening, is the world tells them that they're feeling the wrong feelings or they're feeling too much. So they feel invalidated, which makes the problem worse.
Wow. That's powerful, Jenny. Even doing the example with me, getting into that headspace and you saying both different things, I literally felt the difference.
Yeah. Powerful, isn't it? And that's the skill of validation. Whereas I think it's so easy to say the words, let's validate.
Yeah.
But when we really get into the essence and use it with intention as a therapeutic intervention, it's so powerful.
Yeah. Thank you for that. That was really powerful. I really felt it. So thank you. As you are a director, a clinical director, let me first say that properly, and a supervisor, how do you foster psychological safety and prevent burnout, not just for your staff, but for yourself?
Okay. I think what I've learned is preventing burnout. Sometimes, actually, I think in order to prevent it, you have to first understand what it really is. So I will say I have burnt out before. That was a few years ago. I burnt out, and that was, I do a lot. I'm a working mum. I own a business. I've got a caseload of very, complex clients, but it was post-COVID. So that put a lot of strain on me at home. Trying to keep a business going in COVID was a scary time, and my kids were really little, homeschooling, all of that. It was a lot. So one thing I will say, it was going through burnout that has made me really learn how to prevent it. As much as I'd done previously before, I thought I was doing the right things. But in myself, it's actually about really understanding what three components of self-care, really, kind of when I need soothing, when I've had a bad day and I need to respond to that. But then restorative self-care, like when do I need to restore my resources? When am I overspending and actually need to reinvest in myself? Like sometimes like we have to spend energy to get energy. Do you know what I mean? Like go and do the things that like when we're overstretched and we're starting to burn out, our motivation to do nice things tends to go down, doesn't it?
Mm.
But actually realizing like, okay, it's an effort to go and see my friend, so I'm going to spend energy on that. But by seeing my friend, I'm going to feel re-energized and I'm going to get more energy back from that.
Yeah.
So knowing what those things are for me that are a wise spend of my energy when my energy is low. Because in my head, I've got this analogy where I liken energy to money. And it's about like, how do we literally spend it? And we all fritter money away, don't we? And like spend it and then regret it because it's gone.
Mm-hmm.
And the same with energy. Once it's gone, it's gone.
Yeah.
But we can spend it poorly and make bad decisions. We can spend it, chuntering in our head about somebody we're annoyed about and spend loads of energy on that. I had a client once that said they spent all their energy on the way to work every day just being angry with the motorway drivers. And they got to work and had no energy. So it's like that realization, I'm spending my energy and I'm just wasting it. So can we be wise about how we spend our energy? But also we can spend our energy so wisely that we make a profit on that investment and we actually get more energy back for it. So that's for me about preventing burnout is being really mindful of my energy spend.
Mm.
And one of those things is over the years of being a therapist, I've had more and more, and I have so much supervision now. And as a junior therapist, I thought as you went along, you'd probably need less.
Yeah.
And what I found is I have so much supervision now. I've got 5 different supervisors presently because actually I need the right people holding different parts of my work. And that makes me being able to feel safe and held in my work.
Mm-hmm.
And that helps me to relax a little bit and not carry quite, when people say, how do you do this work? How do you carry all that stuff?
Yeah.
Having the right people around me holding, if we take the Winnicott model of the father holds the mother to hold the baby, it's like the supervisor holds the supervisee to hold the clients. And I've realized I need more than one person holding me. I need a little team around me holding me to hold my clients.
Yeah. Jenny, the way you said that, I felt that I was being held in that moment because I don't think I'm used to, or I don't know many people who have multiple supervisors in the way that you do. Because like you said, there's so much other things that you're doing and you need different people to hold these different aspects of you. So when you said it just now, I literally felt in my chest that there's these people, you have a team around you who they all maybe have the same role, maybe been in the field for different periods of time, but they all hold a piece that is very crucial and important to you and to your clients as well. Yeah, I really felt that when you said it.
It goes into one of the central parts of DBT. So DBT isn't just one-to-one therapy. We do skills training in a group actually, and then we do one-to-one therapy. But one of the really important parts of DBT, it's a central component, is that we have a weekly consult with the other practitioners that are involved in the service. It's a team therapy. No therapist is on their own with the client. You are in your one-to-one sessions on a literal basis, but we hold our clients as a team. Because actually when you're working with real deep complexity and often real, traumatic disturbance, it is too much for one person to hold and it will burn us out. So we hold it together, and that is a really, really important part of preventing therapist burnout is good supervision, good team, just not feeling alone with this work. Because although it affects us on that literal basis of, hearing distressing things and struggling to know, am I doing the right thing? All get that imposter syndrome where we think the client will be doing better with a different therapist and all of that stuff. But you also have all of the unconscious elements of the work that are going on and affecting us in ways that are, without us even knowing. So, it's having other people around you who've got their eye on you and you've got yours on them. And, not being alone, I think, is a really important part of avoiding burnout. And it is an isolating profession, isn't it?
It really is. It really is.
Bless you.
My next question for you, and I guess you can definitely answer this for me. What makes a good supervisory match between therapist and supervisor in your view?
Okay. I think it's similar to client and therapist.
Yeah.
In that wordless way, it kind of just got to feel right. Do you know what I mean? It's got to be like you're my person
Yeah.
kind of thing. I think I always say to clients, like no therapist is right for every client.
100%.
You've just got to find the one that feels right for you. And then the same, like no supervisor is right for every supervisee. But if we actually break it down and what does that really mean? It's some of that stuff. You've got to feel safe. You've got to feel like that person isn't out to kind of show you up.
Mm.
Is there and genuinely respects what you're bringing to the table, not just guiding you. They're not like, your line manager, and to remember that then, particularly if this is all in private practice, like you're paying for a service, you're not reporting to them. Like they're reporting to you. What do you want? Like when I'm a supervisor, like you're paying me for a service. What do you want from me?
Yeah.
But I had a supervisor, my first ever supervisor as well, and she was just amazing. And she said to it to me once, which I always hold dear now, and I share it with my supervisees when I first meet them. And she said to me, Jenny, when you turn up to supervision and you're, thinking about what you want to bring, I want you to ask yourself, what's the thing I don't want to tell my supervisor today? What's the thing I want to hide away? Be really brave and just pull off the sticking plaster and then come and tell me that.
Yeah.
And so that's how I always start my supervisions. I'm like, the thing I don't want you to know, this is to my supervisors,
Yeah.
where I go and feel all vulnerable, is like, if I can tell somebody the thing I don't want to tell them, that is when I know I'm with the right supervisor for me. But when I notice in myself that I want to hide parts of my work, then I'm not in the right space. And that's what I tell my supervisees. If you feel that you can come in and tell me the thing you don't want to tell me, then we're doing something right.
Yeah.
But if you ever feel like you need to hide something from me, my hope is you can tell me. And if you can't, find another supervisor, because I'm not doing you or your client. I can't hold you to hold your clients
No.
if there's bits of that's being hidden.
Jenny, thank you so much for saying that, because it highlights, you're not just in it for the financial aspect. Like you generally have a care for the people who sort you out to be a supervisor, to be a therapist. As you know, there's so many horror stories where people within the field have, misused these things and taken advantage of various people for the financial aspect. So to hear that from you is just so refreshing, and again just highlights how great you are as a therapist and as a clinical director and stuff. So
And I guess I want to jump in and say, I feel like I want to hold a dialectic here. And I'm glad that you see that in me, because it's really important. Like I own a private practice where, we've got a team of therapists, and that's my income generation. But no, I never have been motivated by, I want to make money. And yet I really do believe that we need to value our skills and our experience. I think that therapists deserve to be paid well and right. We advocate that for also our trainee therapists, so that we have like a paid placement that our trainee therapists can, move into, not straight away, but we're able to like show therapists that we have a minimum level that we want our qualified therapists to charge from, because we want therapists to say your skills are valuable. That as long as we feel okay and we feel secure and safe, like if we think safety and stabilization, first part of trauma treatment, right, is that's got to start with the therapist. We've got to feel safe. We've got to feel stable, right?
Yeah.
And that means that we shouldn't feel guilty for charging. I say we shouldn't feel. I mean, so many of us do, but we need to look at that and work on that, because like we deserve to feel secure in order to offer that security. If we're feeling financially insecure or guilty for charging or anything like that, then we're starting from a position of insecurity.
Yeah.
And how are we going to therefore build security up in our clients if we're already insecure in ourselves? So it's a dialectic. Like, no, my love and my passion for therapy, I hope you can hear it comes from my heart. I absolutely love what we do. And I so feel passionate about the profession of therapy. It's the most beautiful thing, I think, in the world.
Yeah.
And yeah, private therapy is a business, and I have no shame about charging. I do feel sad that not everyone can afford it privately, and I would love to improve access to therapies broadly.
Hmm. Thank you for that, Jenny. Thank you. And that leads me into my next question for you. What was the founding vision behind RHCP, and how has that evolved since opening in 2011?
Well, my business partner, Rima Musidpara, very special to me. And so our founding vision, we always laugh about this because we never had a vision. Like with my career, I was going to be an art therapist, and then, oh, I'll adapt it to this, and then I'll adapt it to that. And that's how our business has been as well. Like we're two therapists that hired a room together, and then we were like, oh, we could like do this and we could do that and we could do that. And we've been running now for 14 years, and we do have more vision these days. And yeah, we're very much open to the fact that that vision can be organic as we go along as well. We're actually about to go through a rebranding. So after 14 years of being RHCP, I can't release the name yet,
That's okay.
but we have a new business name coming.
Yeah.
And we're moving premises, so that's really exciting. So we've got a vision, and at being in my early 40s now compared to my late 20s when we first started the business, I feel much more in a position in myself to have a business, know what it is that I'm leading and that I'm offering to the world much more than I did back then. So I really feel like we're ready for that rebrand and that re-energizing, and sort of reintroduction of ourselves as sort of women in our early 40s that are we know who we are and what we're offering now.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's kind of our journey that we've been on, and where we're going, and really we just want to be about heartfelt, transformative, compassionate, proper therapy.
Wow. I'm looking forward to seeing what the rebrand is
Mhm.
and the new visions and steps that you take your organization to.
Can't wait to show you.
Jenny, how do you integrate clinical therapy, consultancy, and training to impact both individuals and organizations?
Okay, how do I sort of integrate that? Well, I think that's my career's work is like as we go along, like you do your initial training, and then you start working as a therapist, and you training something else, and then you start to see about how our skills are transferable.
Mm.
You talk to friends and you teach them a little thing, and they're like, oh, that's really useful, and da da da, and you start to naturally take it out of the therapy room, don't you? And then, of course, because we lead a company, other companies come to us and they say, oh, can you perhaps do this thing on resilience for us? And at first you think, oh my God, I don't know, can I do that? And then, of course, you say yes, and then go and like, ah.
Yeah.
But then you sit and you're like, hang on a minute, like get out of my head and think like, what skills do I know that people need? And you just start to naturally bring in, like, we know the skills. You find the language, and you connect the language of the business world to the language of the therapists, and we connect it all up and you teach it.
Mm.
Um and it's really nice. It's like I mean, I couldn't have done that kind of work 15 years ago. I was still doing my one-to-one work, but now I really enjoy being able to take the beauty, the essence, and the magic of therapy outside of the therapy room, and offer it on a broader level, training other people to do some of what we do, excuse me, but also like helping organizations just to think differently, to understand, like I was talking about self-care,
Yeah.
right? And burnout and all of that. Going beyond like a self-care workshop that tells you to exercise and eat well. Like everyone knows this stuff. Like let's really bring it to life. Let's really teach people, like I teach organizations about dialectics, because these are human interactions, aren't they? Dialectics are everywhere and they're beautiful. How can we in boardroom meetings like validate both ends of a dialectic and make a synthesis between those, bringing it all together rather than falling out and arguing?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just think there's so much magic in what we do. And I think therapy has always historically been, therapist, client, behind closed doors. And I feel like that's absolutely, again, dialectics, there's absolutely a place for that and it's needed. And I very much am a big fan of that. And yeah, there is so much that we can show of our skills and bring to corporate environments to offer them those relational human skills. Because I'm always surprised how little, like, to us, it's normal,
Yeah.
isn't it? You talk about these things. And then when I teach it and they're like, wow. And I'm like, really? Doesn't everyone know this? Because you forget that what's bread and butter to you is another world to somebody else. I can be surprised, like I was back then when my clients found my skills so transformational. I feel like that when I go to organizations. I'm like, surely everyone knows this. It's obvious, right? But it's not obvious if it's not your stuff.
100%. Yeah, it's a brand new world to people who don't fully know. But once they do get the tools or like a presentation from someone such as yourself, then I guess they can implement it and adapt it to their lives.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Jenny, what's one belief you've changed about mental health practice over your career?
I would say that I think this was particularly reinforced during my first 2 formal trainings, my first 2 degrees, that I think I really had it in my mind at one point, really fixed, that when clients present with any emotional difficulty, it was because their childhood was crap. And I absolutely believe that difficulties in our formative years have a fundamental impact on who we develop and grow to be. But I now believe that our experiences along the lifespan impact who we are and how we show up in the world. And we can't put it all down to 6 little years or something. It's our life is a constant regeneration. And in a way, like, if we didn't believe that, then what's the point in therapy? Because if everything's down to those point, why are we doing something now? So it's that, like, yes, those years are really important, but actually to look more broadly, and also that it's not just life experiences. Like, we all know that neurodiversity is the big buzz of the mental health talk these days and what have you, and there's so many different divisive views about that, but ultimately we do have different cognitive skills and strengths from different people. Like, our brains are different, our bodies are different, and some of who we are is just biologically how we are. So yeah, I think I left my first primary trainings very much with, go for the childhood and look for something there. There's got to be something there. And whilst I will always be very curious in people's formative years, I think the whole lifespan and a more holistic view of that person is more now how I look at it.
Yeah, that's powerful. Jenny, it has been such an honor to have you on the podcast today. This won't be the last time that we see you. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been your host, Calvin Anderson, for the Check In With podcast. We have had the phenomenal Jenny Collard today. Please check out all her stuff. Please get in touch with her because she is great at what she does. And take care. Speak soon. God bless.